Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Extreme pleasure in welcoming Sitaram, a doyen in HR, who blends beautifully HR and IR and has tremendous track record. So we'll keep it as Q&A. And at the end of the session, I'm sure participants will have a lot of questions to ask or learn from him. Maybe let me ask Sitaram from his childhood. How did he develop a passion for this? What has been childhood experience?
Hello.
Can you hear Sitaram? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I must thank you. And the title when I read IR Guru actually humbled me. I think I am far, far away from being called as Guru. I think it's really good to see the name against IR Guru, but nowhere close to that. Coming back to the question, in how I developed the passion, I think this is a story which I keep telling to my kids. Very interesting and very funny. My father used to work for railways, and on a Saturdays I used to have on a second Saturdays I used to have holiday, and most of these second Saturdays I would love to go along with my father to his workshop. He was working in engineering workshop in Secunderabad in Labourlaw. And you know, railways have very strong union. And invariably on Saturdays, when they used to have a half a day, for some or the other reasons, these people used to do Gera or the factory manager, someone, and shout slogan for about an hour and a half before the winding up of the work. So that was a ritual of Saturdays to show their show of strength most of the time. And the factory manager used to stand in front in the center of the Gerao sometimes. And my father was an operator and he was also part of the union. And being a worker, he was a part of the union. And post that, I used to ask him, very young age, not knowing what is factory, not knowing what is role, absolute nothing. I just know that when I go to my father's office on a Saturday, I get something to eat because he'll buy me something out of the factory shop there. That was the only reason I used to go. But I was always curious that what is this gentleman so powerful standing in the center and 200 people gathering him and shouting and abusing him left, right and center. And this man should be powerful. Only because of that, these people are gathering. So I always used to tell my father that one day I want to become like him and being get out. So being get out is my intent behind coming into ER unconsciously. That time I didn't know that you have to do an HR course or you have to do something. But I think as I grew, I was very good in mathematics. Everyone at my home and school thought that I'll do engineering. For some reasons, those days, the number of seats in government colleges were so less. And I couldn't dream or desire or wish to study in a private engineering college. So I dropped my engineering idea and then went on to do my graduation in mathematics, statistics, and economics. And after that, it was a natural attraction that I should do HR and IR. And that's how I landed doing MBA HR. But the seed, I think, was sown when I was very young, when I didn't even know what HR was actually.
Oh, that's very interesting. Incidentally, I've been Gerard.
Yeah, many a times.
And you were not scared as a child when this Gero situation happened, when you saw the factory manager getting shouted? You didn't feel bad about it? Or
see, one thing I realized that unless you are powerful or powerful enough in the system, people will not get out you. They also know that whom to get out. So they'll not get out anyone and everyone unless you are an influential person or decision-making authority.
I think this is a great answer for most of the young HR leaders who are listening to you.
I know it looks very funny, but that's the actual story where I first brushed with the IR and HR community.
And from Hyderabad, you traversed to Pune to Symbiosis. Any specific reason?
Yes. I was, as I told, my father was an operator, and in every summer, I used to do some odd job to get my additional income for next year's studies. Likewise, after my graduation, I was working with one of the big businessmen as a part-time sales executive for 2 months during my break. And I got, I cracked my written test for Kakatiya University MBA. And next day morning, I went to my boss and said, hey, tomorrow I'm not coming. I'm going to Warangal to appear for an interview. So he said, what are you going? Why are you going to Kakatiya University? I said, I got an admission in MBA. So tomorrow is my certificate verification, etc. He said, what will you do? After that also, you'll come and do the same job for 500-700 rupees. It doesn't make any difference. If you have to do MBA, you have to either go to IIMs or XLRI or Symbiosis. Trust me, that was the first time I heard the word Symbiosis.
Oh, that's great.
So I said, hey, this man, if he's talking in the same breath like IIM, XLRI, and Symbiosis, there should be something. Then I went and did a bit of find out, research, and did those things. And that's how I landed. That time, Symbiosis was not an autonomous college. It was part of Pune University. Then I appeared for written test, and that's the subsequent story. I cracked the interview and then got into Symbiosis.
By any chance, Mr. M.S. Pillai was there at that point of time?
Very much.
Is there any specific learning you would like to share you had with M.S. Pillai, one of the very unique person whom I respect and regard a lot?
So, even after the college, I worked with Mr. Pillai for a few years. Like you, I think like many of my batchmates or subsequent batchmates used to look up to him as a mentor. I think the one thing, if anyone has to pick up from him, is his passion and energy. You meet him at 6 in the morning or you meet him at 12 in the night. I think the kind of energy he carries and the kind of passion he carries for educating children is immense. And the curiosity he brings, every conversation, he comes as if he's a student and he leaves a mark. Never shows that he knows everything or he knows so much, but his enthusiasm, curiosity to learn, to give back, and energy whole day. I think these are some things which will stay with us for life.
Absolutely. I think that has rubbed off very well with you in your community outreach activities too.
Yeah, I think he is beyond compare. I think that the amount of work he has done and he has spread and he's shown, and every time we go to him or used to go to him with any new idea project, he used to put life to that conversation for reaching out to communities.
And interesting. And what was the first job that you landed in? And something about your first boss too.
Luck keeps following Deen. So I got selected out of campus in a company, famous company. Like any other exciting guy those days, was very happy. But it turned out to be, I am the product of so-called first recession in India. So I got the offer, went home after the exams, was waiting for the company's call and followed up with the college, followed up with the company, etc. But soon I was made to realize that due to recession, the company has wound up and they have cancelled all the offers who have given to the campus. So I was a product of that one first outreach. That unpaid to some extent not allowed on campus. So they put up a notice saying XYZ company wants a HR executive. So I applied. It was on the notice board, but I applied off campus. I got interviewed, got selected for a role where Videocon was going for a ISO certification those days. And they have hired a retired Navy officer. And my job was to assist him from all the HR processes for across Videocon ISO implementation. Again, luck has to follow me. So the day I got interviewed, this was the job told to me. And the day I joined the company, I landed in the company, and the first thing they told me was the corporate has decided to shelf the ISO program. So, so the luck kept following. They said, okay, let's figure out something. Till that time, why don't you go and sit in the time office? So my first job was, in those days, the leave cards used to be the hard copies, punch in the machine. So my first job was to update the leave card, update the leave record, so on and so forth. So you can imagine coming from Hyderabad, doing an MBA in a prestigious institute, not getting a job which I wanted, joining a company with 1/10 of the salary, joining for a role, but ending up in time office job. But I think the learning started from there. Exciting. Good part is that within 10 days, I technically become a plant HR head.
That's at a very young age.
Yeah. So fortunately, my boss got promoted. So he had to shift to Aurangabad. And I was acting. He was traveling a lot. So I was sort of acting from 10th day, taking care of the whole plant, about 1,000 people. I think since that day, I'm pretty much independent running HR from 10th day of my career.
Oh, that's fantastic. Incidentally, starting in time office itself is a great foundation, I thought. Not many
Absolutely.
today are valuing it.
Absolutely. I would say if youngsters, if someone wants to start, I would say put out everything, even though many of the companies today have extinguished the time office as a culture. But I would say if you get an opportunity and you're working, go and sit there for a month's time. You will come to know the whole organization's nerve system there.
True. I remember some of the time office clerks used to remember all the names, token number, and the entire family background.
Absolutely. You know which day, who took leave, why they took leave, what is happening in the family. That's why I said, if you have to know the pulse of the organization, you sit in the time office and sit with the people who are running with time office. With every leave card, they will tell you a story.
That's true. That's why you get connected with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you become a plant HR head. And what are the challenges first you face?
So one was, those days, Videocon was #1 TV company, and we were assembling TV. And it was all assembly. So huge ramp up, reskilling, because most of these people used to come from rural background and we had to train. So what we are talking today of putting skill, probably we really did at that time, setting up a separate training line, certification on the line, only then putting them on the main assembly line. That was one. Apart from the factory, those days Videocon had sales and after sales two separate divisions. So after sales was also handled by the managers or the service station managers across the country. And each of the service station used to have their own HR policies, systems, etc. So Videocon suddenly realized that This is not the way to run. We need to have a common process system. So I was made responsible for even running after sales HR across the country. And you can imagine I'm talking those days when there was no computer and email. Everything used to be hard copy. And I was told that every recruitment, I should be part of the recruitment so that there is no bias in recruitment, promotion, etc. I worked 365 days, team, including 26 January and 15th August. In fact, they gave me a silver medal. I still hold the silver medal.
Oh, fantastic. You didn't feel the burnout?
Absolutely no. So I used to do the factory work. I used to travel for 10 days at a stretch. And those days, travels were not as luxury as these days. Our daily allowance was 250 rupees. In that, you have to heat, you have to also bear the lodging, etc. So I used to travel in the red bus in the night, get down at bus stop, get into a lodge in the morning, just change, go to the service station, do the interviews and HR process all day. Night again, get into another red bus and go to a new city. There was a time where I traveled 30 days. So 30 nights in the bus. And again, come back to the plant and do the plant work. I must say that that was a fun period. Because the amount of job they gave me and the amount of trust they gave me was immense. Young out of college, just 15, 20 days of the work, but they trusted me so much.
That's really interesting and great. And today, this sort of toiling for 365 days, it is seen as not worth it? And what would be your advice to the youngsters?
So yeah, so then this is a common thing. I'm not advocating this by any means, but all the youngsters, definitely I do this session and tell them, we keep talking about work-life balance. For me, work-life balance is not a day. Work-life balance is for the whole career. There are some patches where you really have an opportunity to learn, opportunity to slog, opportunity to give back to the company which has hired you. Some periods are there where your family needs your more time. Maybe you have to cut down, but you have to tell to your manager that, hey, for next 6 months, I have some other family priorities, etc., and move on. It's not about day. For me, when you say work life, it's a horizon. It's where I need to put my energy. That's where I decide. To all the youngsters, I would say one thing. What you learn in first 5 to 7 years decides the course of your life and career. At least career, I can definitely say. Because you got nothing to lose in first 5 years. Your egos don't come. The biggest advantage is that your egos don't come in the way of asking people. You can really go reach out to anyone and ask. After 5 years, slowly we start becoming a bit of egoistic, saying, hey, I worked 5 years. I should know this. I know him better than him. Why should I go and ask him or her? We put a lot of boundaries around us. So I would say, pick up the best and pick up the toughest of the jobs. Do the maximum you can do. Contribute the maximum you can in the first 5 to 7 years. Absolute, be shameless, be ruthless on learning. Don't choose a job because it is cozy. A lot of times when we recruit a fresher, they choose a job based on which is an AC cabin and which is a shop floor, which is a remote location. I would say, tick the box, do the toughest of the job at the beginning of your career. That experience will keep helping you, coming back to you throughout your career.
No, I think it's a very powerful story. When you started with the Gero, then the part-time work, and a low salary, starting with an ISO, but by default getting into a plant, everything starts falling in place. But that experience, what you've got, today we are talking about second careers, we are talking about many things, but that toughening is what today probably we all need to pick from your story. And what was the transition from Videocon?
So, it's again a coincidence and a story. So I was traveling to Pune, and Pune, incidentally, we had a service station in Swargate. That day, someone passed away, and the whole Swargate was shut down. And night, I was supposed to go to Goa to do my interviews. The whole day, I had nothing to do. So I went to my college to chill out, spend some time with my old staff members, etc. So that's where I saw an ad for Bosch, the newspaper, and the Bosch walk-in interview was happening next to my college in Pune. So I just pulled out my profile from the college records, and I walked there. Thousands of people, it was like a mela, walk-in interviews. So I just walked in and gave my profile. One gentleman came and he took my profile and said, after a long time, I'm seeing so interesting and impressive profile at this young age. Because by that time, I would have worked with union. By that time, I would have worked with PF, ESI, compliance, training and development, recruitment, all in all in that short period. They were very impressive. What are you doing? I said, nothing. I have a bus in the evening. So he said, can you help me the whole day? Because there were hundreds and thousands of people for all the functions. Bosch was doing interviews for all the functions. Their operations, process, methods, system, IT, finance, all functions they were doing interviews. So this gentleman took me as his assistant for the whole day. My job was to initially stand there, screen the resumes, do a standing interview for them, and put a number, room number, where they have to go. So I was like a receptionist come initial screening of those thousands of resumes. So that's how I did help them to do the interview for the whole day. And at the end of the day, gentleman came and said, will you work with us? Will you work for us? So that's how I landed a Bosch job.
Oh, again, there's a tremendous learning here. I pick up a very important thread. The ego did not come in the way. You are willing to do the receptionist job. You are willing to slog it out, help them out. And you had nothing to do because there was a bun, but you utilized that time so meaningfully, you got into Bosch. Before I get into the Bosch experience, what was your first rough off with the union? I would say not rough off. What was the interface with the union?
So I'm sure many on this call would know how strong a union Bosch has. Okay, Videocon had an internal union, so not as tough or as I would say demanding. They were, but not really a challenging one when you compare with Bosch. So my first day Bosch, first time. The name itself shows that I'm a South Indian, but I joined in Nasik, which was a hardcore Hindi, Marathi belt. So union had an impression that I got this job through some references of someone relative working in Bosch in Bangalore. So the first rub they asked was, who is your godfather who got you the job? Right. And I said, I wished I would have had somebody in Bosch, but I have no one even distantly knowing who is working for Bosch. Then the second thing came was stay in your limits. And they used a filmy dialogue. They said, our experience is more than your age. So don't ever try your PR tricks on us. So that was my first brush with them.
That's very interesting. In your second part of your career, when the union says don't try your ER tricks, there's already a perception that HR means they try ER tricks.
Absolutely.
And yeah. How are you able to build that transparency as you went along?
So in the biggest, even till today, I would say the biggest credibility or the reward or the award what I got was from the union in Bosch. Two things I would say I'll quote. So Bosch, so when I joined, there was a settlement going on. I straight away jumped in as part of the negotiating team, back end, supporting the front-ending negotiating team, but sitting in all the negotiations, but supporting the front-end team with all the data, numbers, justifications, calculations, etc. So union used to see me work with every question or everything they had. I had my data, which I also used to share with union on the data front. So they have seen me work with the data and participate in the negotiating meeting. Very tough meetings, very challenging meetings, etc. But after 3 years, when they were again submitting a charter of demand for the next settlement, they came and requested my boss that can they loan me for a month? Boss said, what are you going to do by loaning this guy? So they said, for ages we have been drafting our CODs, and our CODs also go to Germany. So they send a copy to Germany as an information from the union side. They send it to all the MDs, etc. Everybody send it. And most of the time they used to translate their Marathi copy into English and send it. So after they have sent, a lot of people used to tell them that this is not right, or this is not put it properly, sequencing, or the content, or the logic, justification. Everything was hayway. They only knew what they're asking. So they said, we want this time to make it very professional. And we want this guy to work with us and draft our COD. Then boss called me. He said, hey, this is a request. I have never heard a union asking for a management staff, that too knowing this guy is going to be on the other side of the table 1 month down the line negotiating. They're asking you to be part of them for 1 month to draft the COD and give it. And my boss asked union that, are you sure that this guy will know everything in and out of your COD even before it is tabled? They said, we have no problem with this guy. I think that amount of trust they had, that they can trust me and they can vouch for me to work on both sides. I think that was the biggest, I think, unheard. At least I've not heard any union coming and asking for the same negotiating team to draft the COD.
This is fantastic. I don't think I've ever heard this. You must write a story about this, which is a great lesson for all youngsters. This is something what, and very interestingly, from Bosch, which is also known for skill building, what are some areas you picked up on skill building?
So, while I joined as the ER specialist in Bosch, but my long tenure in Bosch, literally I moved every function of HR, moved from ER to HR to implementing HRIS system, talent development, leadership development. Parallelly, I was working on the leadership development, performance management. At the end, I headed their training center in Nashik. And as you know, Bosch is known for their training centers, technical skills training center. So I was heading the technical skill training center. Couple of things picked up from there. One is, I think I still continue the same learning what I did it in Bosch. While you take the youngsters to put them through the skill, we should ask ourselves that what is our end objective? Are we taking a school dropout and making them an operator, and we expect them to retire as an operator? Or we are taking them, converting them into a skilled person and employable to start with? But are we showing them a lifetime career? Are we showing them the path for continuous education? Many of the times we take the youngsters, put them in some skill. After 3 or 4 years, they acquire the skill, but they are stuck in their career and they retire as that technician or the operator for life. Rather, can we make it a continuous learning? So we did a lot of work on continuous learning even in Bosch and post Bosch.
I want to connect this question at a later point of time. But one thing, very important lesson I want to take away from you is there's nothing called blue collar or white collar. Your position, the career coloring for each of them.
Absolutely. Actually, we should get away this word. Actually, now also we are proposing, or we are propagating. There's nothing called blue and white collar.
Absolutely. So
right. It's just where you start. Maybe someone starts 3 steps ahead because parallelly I have gone to a university, and someone starts 3 or 4 steps behind because they couldn't go to university, but they'll join a job and then catch up those 3 or 4 steps. That's all. They're just 2 steps behind us.
True. And it's just you create an environment without compromising the business demands.
Absolutely.
Great. Then you also dabbled with some consulting and then went to Oman. Can you say some interesting part of those?
So in between, had some brush again. Let me come back and talk about the work-life balance part. I think I was in Monsanto doing fantastically well. I was heading HR for South Asia, and I was part of the succession plan for the Asia Pacific. So I was about to be relocated to Mumbai as a first step, and then to Singapore. That was what was planned and communicated to me as a succession plan. Luck keep following you. So my mother-in-law met with a very, very severe accident. I think every newspaper covered her accident, in fact, in South India. She was having a denture in her tooth. Early in the morning, while having a tablet, the denture went inside to the heart. And by afternoon, the heart has to be cut open and take out the denture. And my wife is the only daughter in India. Remaining kids are all abroad, settled. So someone has to be with her. It was a week's decision of grappling between families and kids and mother-in-law, etc. Wife took a call to leave her job and go and serve her mother. So I took a call to leave my job and stay with my kids.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, and that period, a lot of friends came together. I think throughout my career, half of my career success should go to friends. Immediately, a lot of friends jumped in. They said, hey, we have a consultancy. Though our consultancy is a technical firm, it's a technical firm, but for you, we can also start taking few of the HR projects. And they did work out and took some HR projects so that I can run my family. Earlier also, I was teaching in few colleges as my hobby. That became my main bread earning. For those 2 years, I started teaching in college, but a lot of flexibility to take care of my kids. 2 years, I was at home, got associated with a consultancy to run my family, teaching in colleges. Wife was serving her mother, and 2 years down the line, everything settled. Then I again started looking, and that's how I went to Oman to head a HR for a group company there.
That's interesting. And then back from Oman,
back from Oman, interesting move. GE in India was trying to set up a shop. It's very, very interesting. Actually, I would say it's once in a lifetime. GE those days was losing a lot of orders in India because of the volume and the cost. Because it's a project-based company. And when they were bidding for anything in India. Everything had to be imported, and they were unable to win any of the orders because of the import cost. They were unable to compete with the local player. And to put a dedicated factory, volumes were not supporting to put a dedicated factory. So the CEO at that time said, we are losing so much on the India business. Why don't we do something very unique in India? Why don't you build a factory not dedicated to a product? It should be dedicated to a process. The example, I still remember the example here was, why don't we build like a 5-star hotel? It should be absolute quality and absolute look after to, but anything you order, that kitchen should be able to produce. So why don't we have a flexible factory? So it was a sort of factory on wheels, or a kitchen of factory, whatever we call, or we later on coined it as a brilliant factory, multi-model brilliant factory. So the ask was, the corporate was ready to invest $200 million US. That's about 1,000 or 1,200 crores. Build one of the best facilities in the world. I would still say it's still one of the best facilities in the world. Build the facility and cater to any business. So later on in that one workshop, the factory was making aircraft engine components, power station components, full railway engine assembly, full wind turbine assembly, full feeder pump assembly, all under one roof, all in one shed. So there was absolute no relation in a wind turbine and a railway engine and an aircraft engine. Distantly, no skills, no similarity, but all under one roof, under one line were getting assembled. So that's what we built. And that was what attracted me back to come and join GE in India.
Yeah, that was a great success story. And I personally know a lot of people have visited and seen how it could be done. And it also breaks this myth of skilling. If we really do it right, it can be done irrespective of what the product is.
Absolutely. I think today people can work in the morning, they can work in the aviation, and the afternoon they can do a wind turbine assembly. I think it's just our perception that people are not flexible. I think they are very, very flexible. Kids they learn very fast. It's just that our limitation and restriction that we don't put them across, but they do wonders.
I think the mind is the barrier, and you have demonstrated that. And yeah. Now that you transition into Tata's, and I also understand you're going in a big way on diversity. Would you like to throw some light?
Yeah, so it's been 3 years since I joined Tata's. Traditionally, not only Tata's, traditionally, for some reasons, we have kept women away from manufacturing. Good or bad, let's not get into that, but things have changed. Earlier, law itself was a bottleneck that women cannot be engaged beyond 7 p.m. So that itself was the first hurdle, that they cannot be rotated in shifts. So there was a challenge. Then most of the factories were far away from city. The infrastructure, the transport, the safety, the security. There were many reasons not to engage women. But in the bargain, I would say we have just lost 50% of our available talent, and very, very valuable 50% of the available talent. Now we have taken a big way from every hire, every recruitment. We are saying we will hire women, whether it is the trade apprentices, where we engage people at a very young age. We are saying we'll hire at least 50% women in each of our batch. That's one. Then we have started on and learn on the shop floor. So as an example, as a benchmark, we are setting up a new line in one of our Pune manufacturing facilities, where we want 100% of the line to be run by women. When I say 100%, it's about 1,400 girls. So that's the plan we have.
That's great. But mobilizing so many women, what are the challenges?
The first thing, Deen, is more than the physical challenge. I think the mental barriers are the biggest roadblock. See, no project goes through without their hiccups and problems. But many of the times we have this quick reaction that this doesn't work in India, this doesn't work in our factory. Those kind of reactions. Even if you have 2% extra absenteeism on a single day, we just say that we told you that this is a hard job. Women will not be able to cope up. There are reasons for taking a step back. So those were all the challenges we had initially. But now I must say there's a huge amount of pull. People are seeing the value. People are seeing the strength of bringing diversity on the shop floor. The kind of rigor, the kind of ideas they bring in, different perspective, the calmness, the sincerity, the quality output, everything. But of course, it has its own time to mature. But I must say that we have crossed that hump of convincing. We have crossed that hump of initial hurdles. Now it's all pull. We are sitting back, enjoying life, because now everyone wants diversity on the shop floor.
Oh, that's fantastic. I wanted to connect this question with Maiko and now with Tata's. Probably Tata's can lead this greatest initiative of skill building. Today, if you really look at be it college or polytechnic, can we do a short-term 4-hour shift and 4-hour education, or a 5-hour shift and 3 hours education? And in the process, we start really connecting the industry academia from day one of the institution, depending on what subject they specialize. And somewhere we need to take a lead than doing this 12-hour shift and all that stuff. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Then, first of all, we should find ways and means. But the way we say that factory operations, productivity, I must say that education should be compulsory. How, what possible, what all could be challenges? I'm a strong believer that if there are challenges, there has to be solution. And if there are no challenges, I think none of us on this call are needed to be engaged, right? We all can put together, find innovative ways and means. And today, it is much more easier with lockdown, digital learning, remote learning, etc. We can always find out. Being very specific on, can we look at 4-hour shift and 4-hour college, etc. Absolutely. Concept, yes, but we have to keep working on how does it span out on continuity of production? How does it span out on engagement of universities? Do we have the infrastructure for travel, transport, so on and so forth? But to start with, what we are promoting is that, can we at least start 5-day and 1-day? Can we do 5-day work and 1-day class so that there is a rotation and production doesn't hamper? As I said, we have to start. There's no perfect world, but education has to be part of the employment.
It's a social experiment. Somewhere we need to build it around and then go along. I also see a few interesting questions from the members. What are the do's and don'ts when you get out?
Do's and don'ts of? I didn't get
when
the
you
last
get out.
Okay. So first and foremost, it's not that moment is not very, very comfortable. You get to intimidating. It depends on a large group, etc. Most of the time, what you say becomes the leading conversation or leading issue. When you get out, the best thing is to have your standard statement and keep continuously repeating your standard statement, the philosophy of your company. Okay, and not naming, not committing, not bluffing while you are in the center. Be fair, be transparent, and talk as little as possible.
That's great. Then another interesting question. In WASH, what are the few things that you followed to earn the trust of the union?
So even till I would say the same thing. Nothing has changed for me. Don't do anything behind union's back. Even when you are terminating, suspending, taking action, issuing charge sheet, even the toughest of the things, tell them and do. You should understand the difference between telling and seeking permission. I'm not asking, or I don't advocate saying that there is something in your prerogative. Whatever is your prerogative, you don't have to seek approval. But if you upfront tell them, hey, tomorrow I'm doing this, and upfront tell them that I'm not seeking your approval, I'm informing you. They should come to a stage that this guy will not do anything behind us. If he's going to do something, he's going to tell us. If they win that confidence, they may not like your actions, but at least they'll trust you that you're not going to do anything behind their back.
That's a strong conviction.
Yeah, Deen, I still remember once we were on the verge of suspending one of the union general secretaries. Subsequently, in one of the other organizations. Next day morning, we have decided as a management, we have decided to suspend him for whatever reasons. I said I'll not suspend before telling the union. And the union had an external union support, and the external leader was traveling. And he was supposed to come back to the city at 1 o'clock in the night. So I went to his office at 2 o'clock in the night along with the whole union. All the union guys were there and the external guy was there. Then I went there. And then at 2 o'clock in the night, I told them that tomorrow morning I'm suspending one of these guys. And the guy was also sitting there. So the union leader first laughed. I said, first of all, union people hate to come to our office. Management people don't come to our office. They run away. They're given a choice, they'll all avoid. Again, you came at midnight. And even at midnight to come and tell me that you were going to suspend one of my guys. Right? What if I will not approve to suspend? I said, did I ask you a permission? Did you hear any time saying that you please permit me to tell? I came here and told you an information that I am suspending tomorrow morning so that I give you enough time to react, whatever you want to do. Right? So I'm doing this. I have no choice. This guy has done this. So I'm going and suspending. So I went back and suspended.
That is not only courageous, conviction, as well as informing, not taking permission, which is where most of us as HR should learn how to do this. And what would be your advice now that IR is not becoming a preferred carrier? What is your thoughts on this?
So as long as people are there, you may call anything. And we HR people are very good in every now and then creating a new jargon or new name to the system. But I would say that if you want to become a so-called strong HR guy, you should do a stint in IR. And if you want to become a good ER guy, you should do a career mapping, career development. because unless you do a ER role, it's like if you are in sales, you need to do some amount of on the field sales job if you have to grow in the sales function. Similarly, if you are dreaming of becoming a CHRO, I would say that you should do a stint in ER. It teaches you a lot. It teaches, if you look at any union, their demands may be irrational. Their demands may appear to be not sync with business, but what I enjoy or what beauty their demand is that whatever they demand is for the whole group of employees. Right? Their salary increase, their benefit increase, welfare increase is they distribute the benefit what they demand for. They may have the political interest to grow as a leader, etc., but they always demand for others. Whereas in many of the so-called management discussions, most of the time we end up saying or discussing what am I getting.
Common good is from the union side.
Yes.
Whereas what is in it for me is on the management side.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a very interesting countries like Europe, which is highly unionized, is also highly productive. In India, there's the other way around. The unionization is coming down and productivity is also coming down. Any thoughts on this?
So, see, one is jobs are protected, especially when you are unionized. Okay. The other side is that what is the big motivation for an operator to produce more? Even if I produce more, I'm going to retire as the same operator. Even if I do extra work, extra contribution, I still have to be an operator till retire. So why work extra? What is in there? So like we all put our extra effort thinking that we'll get a good appraisal, good rating. Because of the appraisal, good rating, good learning, I may become eligible for the next job. Unless you create that path for people on the shop floor also to grow, there won't be any motivation for productivity. And with stick, you cannot get the productivity for life. It's not going to work. You may pull one part extra, two parts extra, but it's not sustainable. It has to be a drive within that group to give more. Either there has to be a very strong purpose that why we exist and where their contribution is going. That much strong the purpose has to be. Or people have to find a meaning that if I do X for so many years, I'll grow in my career.
That's great. Another interesting question. 2 or 3 key fundamental values any IR person should develop for himself.
So first and foremost, is that many of the times I see ER guys, they themselves are reluctant to talk business. They only feel that our job is to manage union somehow, not be part of the business. So first and foremost, I would say to any union guy is, if not anyone, you should know business in and out. And the reason is that the ER guy is the front end for talking to the larger population, and they should talk and explain business day in, day out. What's happening in the industry, what is happening to our own organization, what is happening to our own product, profitability, etc. So you should be thorough about the business part. A second part is be fair. Don't squeeze because you are in a position to squeeze something, and don't land up doing unfair things. be fair. Because you are a union leader, also be a bridge between management and the union. And always take a ground which is a win-win. When I say win-win, not succumb to the pressure, but being fair, being transparent, being upfront, and standing, demonstrating your conviction.
That's great. We have a very, very senior person, Mr. Aramudan. I don't know whether it, Guru from TVS. I don't know, Mr. Aramudan, you have something to ask? Aramudan?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're very much audible.
Very interesting, Deen, the way in which Sitaraman was mentioning about his career and how he landed as a professional. I don't have any question, but I have only, in response to the last question asked by someone, what I find the values need to be conveyed to the younger generation or budding HR managers is integrity is very important. That is very, you should have a functional, thorough in functional knowledge. That is very, very important. And another important thing is, you should not work for union management relation. It should be employer-employee relation. That is very important. Because always we think union management relation is the function of the HR. No, it is employer-employee relation. That is more important.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramadan. One of the reasons why I called when we started, Sitaram, you said you're a little elated to get this word IR Guru.
No, I'm not IR Guru. I'm a retired hurt person.
No, but when you're talking about appreciating Sitaram, we have rightly chosen the speaker who is an excellent IR Guru.
Yeah, certainly. That is what we look for, need to work for is a proactive IR, HR than reactive IR. That is the most important thing.
And that's what I think Sitaram brought to the table very nicely.
Yeah, certainly.
And the fact that union has asked Sitaram to help the COD itself speaks volumes.
Yeah. The two in a company like Bosch, to have a alignment with the union is a tough task. We have heard about people like Suri Narayana and other leaders.
Yeah, true. And also in a situation like Nasik and all that, I think it's a tremendous achievement.
It's a workers' aristocracy there. Somebody used to say.
That's great. Sridharan, I'm handing over to you for a formal vote of thanks. But you are an IR group. I don't want to say.
No. I'm not at all an IR group. Anyway, thanks for the opportunity, Dean. Good evening, everybody. Mr. Sitaram, it was a very wonderful listening to your experience. Quite a lot of learning for me, myself. Even after that 35 years of experience, I learned quite a bit from your speech today. I'm sure that the youngsters who have taken part in today's webinar would have been gaining quite a lot more than what I have gained. And I should thank all the participants and for having patiently listened to your speech. And it is very, very, very rare but very fortunate opportunity that we had you today to speak to our participants. We should thank you for the time that you have taken midst of your busy schedule. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Mr. Ramadan, for your valuable input for Deen's question. Thanks one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sitaram. Sorry that I've been nagging you, but it was good nagging for me.
Good
Thanks, Deen.
meeting. That.
Yeah. So in every interaction with you also put some energy back to us. So most welcome. Anytime, and to the team. Even Deen is very modest, but learned a lot from him too. So I keep also bouncing off a lot of things to him. Thanks a lot, Deen.
Thank you. Thanks to all the participants.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.